Ladies and gentlemen, my dear students, I'm very pleased and emotional about this convocation in memory of Maria Finkle, Zichrona Livracha, and the learning that we're doing tonight, Le'ilui Nishmata. Maria wrote in her will that she wanted me to speak at her funeral, and unfortunately, I received the news of her passing after the last plane had already left Israel, so there was no way I could make it to her funeral. And I feel and felt bereft about that. So I'm deeply appreciative that you've all come tonight to hear about my beloved friend, Maria Finkle. Joel Finkle and my father-in-law, Dr. Hillel Henkin, Zichronam Livracha, were fast friends for so many years. And I remember Maria and Joel from significant junctures in my life. And the friendship moved from my in-laws to Maria and myself when Maria became a great supporter of Nishmat, and most specifically of our Ethiopian students. I pondered Maria's and my friendship many times. Maria was in the world of fashion. She was a personal shopper for women who were capable of buying the finest in fashion. And here was I in Jewish education. Now, fashion is a fickle place. One year plum is in and almond is out. The next year almond is passé and plum is in. And the industry works to change our allegiances often. Maria worked in fashion. She had an incredible eye for fashion, and she enjoyed fashion, but it never became her passion. The amazing proof of it was that Maria had no problem wearing suits and jewelry that she kept for years. Her taste ran to the classic. But my friend, she also had trouble spending money on herself, which I'll speak about a bit later. Her passion was the Jewish people, Jewish education, and Israel. Maria Finkle would have been 100 on July 3rd. She lived through the greatest events in Jewish life in 2,000 years. She lived through the Balfour Declaration. She lived through the Shoah, the establishment of the State of Israel, the ingathering of Jews from the four corners of the earth to rebuild the Jewish state physically and spiritually. And she lived through the flowering of women's Torah scholarship. Those events ultimately shaped her spirit and her life. Maria was born into a German Jewish family that immigrated from Europe to the United States in the early 1930s. Her father had been a Yiddish actor, and he passed away shortly before the family left Europe. Her widowed immigrant mother struggled to feed her children. Now, we've all heard rags to riches stories. And in these stories, most people manage very quickly to get used to money and the luxuries it can buy. Maria was different. She never forgot where she came from, and she had trouble spending money on herself because the money could do much more if she gave it to others, if she gave tzedakah. And Maria had phenomenal empathy for others. One of Maria's early scholarship students at Nishmat, at our Maria and Joel Finkle Jewish Studies program for Olot from Ethiopia, a young woman who is now an educator in Israel, told Maria that her father had died shortly before the family left Ethiopia. So Maria told her, we're really similar. My father too died right before we left Europe. Look how similar we are. You can't imagine what a shot in the arm that statement gave this young woman. She was walking on air. It's not possible to talk about Maria without talking about Joel Zichrono Livracha. Joel was a prince of a man, and they were a royal couple whose love held fast to the last day. Maria and Joel shared an acute and ever-present consciousness of a shattered people rising with God's help from the ashes of the Shoah to rebuild itself in Israel. And they felt that it was their obligation and their privilege to do everything they could to contribute. My students, my friends, if not for Maria and Joel's largesse, they could have lived a far grander lifestyle. Instead, they chose to live a modest lifestyle and to be grand Jews. Maria hadn't come from a religious background, but when she and Joel married, Maria took on everything with gusto. Through Joel, Maria became a great supporter of Jewish education, and to her particular passion became Jewish education for women. The two were great benefactors of many institutions, working selflessly, unostentatiously, and with profound love for Israel and for the Jewish people. Maria supported, amongst other institutions, Stern College in the United States, and in Israel there was Bar Ilan, and there was Boys Town, and there was Herzog Hospital, and then there became Nishmat and Midreshet Lindenbaum. In each of her institutions, Maria took tremendous pride in the young people whose lives she was changing. It wasn't writing out a check. It was enabling people to get to realize, enabling young people to realize themselves fully, to build up the country, to become who they had potential to become. I spent many hours with Maria. Many hours, many Shabbatot. Maria experienced events in Israel the way other people experience their family. She was thrilled. She rejoiced when things were good for Israel. She was tormented when things were bad. Maria quieted her fears for Israel's future with words which I think came from Chief Rabbi Herzog and reached the family through Rabbanit Herzog. She would say in Joel's name, Hashem didn't bring back Jews from the four corners of the earth to Israel so that there should be a third exile. It will not be. And with this, she gave herself hope, and she gave herself the energy to continue. Maria's greatest joy was giving to others. Her generosity was legendary. A couple of years ago, she said to me, I'm worried, I'm afraid. What will happen if my money runs out before my life ends? If I don't have the ability to give, life won't be worth living. What will I live for? I mentioned earlier that Maria had trouble spending money on herself. Now she knew this, and she was also capable of laughing at herself. So there's a story that she liked to tell. It was about raspberries. Maria loved raspberries. She went to the supermarket one day, and there were raspberries at the beginning of the season, and they were $8 a box. So she came home and she told Joel, I saw raspberries in the supermarket and they were $8 a box. Joel said to her, well, did you buy yourself raspberries? So she said, I couldn't do that. I couldn't spend $8 a box on a box of raspberries for myself. And Joel started laughing and he said, Maria, you can write out a $10,000 check for tzedakah, but you can't spend $8 to buy yourself a box of raspberries? The answer is no, Maria couldn't. I want to tell you another story. Maria and Joel had a woman who worked for them as a housekeeper. Her name was Billy. And this Billy had been a tennis player in her younger years. And when she came to work as a housekeeper for Joel and Maria, they bought her a pension plan. This is something people did not do, but Joel and Maria saw Billy working for them, and they said, who's going to take care of Billy when she gets older? So they bought a pension for her. As things turned out, Billy aged more quickly than Maria did, and she was no longer able to work. And of course, Maria kept her on, despite the fact that she could not work. And then Billy became very sick when Maria was near 90. And Billy had surgery. She lost her feet to diabetes, and she suffered. Now, if Maria were like others of her station, in an act of great compassion, Maria would have paid for an aid to Billy. But my students, I want you to hear what Maria Finkle did so that you will understand who Maria Finkle was. Maria did not engage an aide to take care of Billy. Maria went almost every day to the nursing home herself to take care of Billy. Billy had cared for Joel. She had called Joel Papa, and Maria was not going to give herself an easy way out. So Maria became Billy's aide. That was who Maria Finkle was. Maria wasn't privileged to have biological children of her own, but she has countless spiritual children, young people in Israel and abroad whose lives she shaped. She gave them Torah, she gave them general education, she gave them careers, and she was truly proud and happy when they excelled. Maria Finkle made the world a better place. And these young people are Maria's legacy that lives on. They are, in the words of the prophet Yeshayahu, they and the programs that Maria established so that there will be more and more young people who are receiving a Jewish education and young Ethiopians who are making their way into the Israeli mainstream. These young people and the programs that Maria established are Maria's Yad Vashem Tov Mibanim Uvanot. They are a memorial to Maria, more steadfast even than children. My students, let us celebrate and let us learn from Maria Finkle's life. Let us learn from her midot, her character, her kindness, her generosity, her love of Judaism and Jews. Let us try to be better people as a result of learning from Maria, and let us pledge to continue what we learn from her. Uvila hamavet lanetzach umacha Hashem dim'a me'al kol panim. May God wipe the tears from all faces.